Hello and welcome to the 6.0 Abyss and Imaginarium Theater or September 2025 Abyss and Imaginarium Theater or Luna 1 Abyss or Imaginarium Theater, whatever you want. This is your monthly review of what Genshin's endgame combat modes have unfortunately ended up as. No, that's not necessarily a hint towards this month, things have been like this since Natlans. So, welcome again, 6.0 is here and Nod-Krai has given us another batch of gatekeeping mechanics in order to force people and guilt trip them when they're not finishing the modes and stuff to pull for the new units. Lunar-Reactions unfortunately have just been turned into Night Soul 2.0 since there's no way to use them without a 5-star unit, and also you need to use 2 Nod-Krai characters in a team, else their kits and artifacts are literally cut in half. And of course, this translates into bosses and enemies. Fortunately, or unfortunately, I'm going to have to keep plenty of my opinions on those enemies for the version review, since as we will see, some of them are not in the new Abyss, and well, Imaginarium Theater reset before the new patch, so it naturally lacks them. But how about we begin with the Abyss, and this time we have to cover floors 9 and 10, since we have changed into a new major version, it means they change as well. And as you can see from the title of the video, I will be calling the patches 6.x, most of the time since the eternal version numbers are continuing like that, so yeah, I might, have a Luna something in like a bracket or something, but for me myself, I'll just call them 6. Whatever. So, floors 9 and 10 are extremely similar and well, they are also extremely simple to the point that going into detail for every chamber is kind of unnecessary. All first halves on both floors are 4 to 6 very simple enemies consisting of a mix of the new Fatui enemy soldiers and their robots slash mechas, whatever you want to call them. And then all second halves are 1 to 2 enemies, most of the time just one enemy, ranging from ruin enemies like ruin drakes to some new stuff. And those are the only points that I will discuss. Floor 10 has a way up in 10-1 on the second half, and it's Dendro, but it's the first chamber and it's floor 10, so you have bursts and the shield breaks immediately. But then in the next chamber is the new horse enemy that I absolutely hate because these enemies are immune to their element and then they also have a permanent aura of it, but at the same time they will enter a state where you need to hit them with that element in order to take down their damage resistance. So you literally have one character that is completely useless. On one state, they are completely immune to their damage, and even if you brought them as an applicator, they're also completely useless because they have a permanent aura, the enemy has a permanent aura on them, and then on the second stage, you have to hit them with that element, but then if you said, oh maybe now they'll deal just a little bit of damage, no, they have huge damage resistance, so they don't deal damage either. Like, thanks! And then, there's another enemy type in floor 10, where they will inflict a debuff on you, dealing a bit of damage in the process. What this debuff does is reduce your damage to the enemy significantly and also reduce your healing. But the way to get rid of it is to heal to max HP. So, wow! So even if these floors are still piss easy, honestly more so for newer players because new units are extremely powerful, and the enemies have mechanics for them, you still get annoyed because of these shitty mechanics. It's literally the 3 way-ups. Quite literally the 3 way-ups. The way-up, which is an annoying motherfucker, because, hey, I want you to break my shield, but I will take your energy away so you don't have bursts in order to deal damage. Then there's the horse, which is like, one of your characters is completely useless, but you have to use them. You have to use them, else you're not gonna be dealing damage in the one state. And then the last guy is like, hey, here's a debuff. The way to get rid of it is to heal up, but the debuff also makes your healing worse. Like, holy fuck. Again, three versions of a way up, quite literally. Holy fuck, let's get into floor 11. That's it. Like, 9 and 10 are simple, and as I said, but simple and easy, but fuck me, these enemies were literally annoying. Yeah, I did 9 and 10. As I told you, the Abyss reset, and 9 and 10 were clear. They didn't even tell you, hey, play 9 and 10 at least once to see the new stuff. So, yeah, I went and did them myself. And, yeah, it was annoying. Yeah, annoying. These enemies suck. Let's get into floor 11. Get out of here. 11-1 has no monolith, and both halves are just enemy mix-ups. First half is Nobushis and Kairagis alongside some Fontaine mechas, and the second half is Mushrooms and some Fish Haps. 11-2 has 2 consecrated beasts on the first half, 1 crocodile and 1 tiger, so Hydrodendron resistant, and the second half is still a mix-up of the ruined Doritos from Sumeru alongside the new Fatui robots, which are pretty simple, just annoying to stagger or stun sometimes, and finally ruined graders. And last, for 11-3, first half is just Fatui soldiers and a robot, followed by 1 Fontaine construction mecha, and as for the second half, it's a mix-up again of all ruin enemies this time. That's floor 11. It's very basic even compared to floor 10 because it lacks those stupid new enemies. Which moves us into floor 12. Might I say, before going into the buffs, that when I played the Abyss day 1, the game felt extremely buggy and most importantly unresponsive. I actually do have a lot of notes on bugs for the version review while I was exploring Nod-Krai, doing the quest and stuff. I generally have plenty of notes for bugs. But yeah, I couldn't change characters even though the cooldown was fine, or they just would get stuck or something, problems with enemy hitboxes. I mean, the Tulpa has always been janky hitbox, but I saw it with more enemies, and on that unresponsiveness, it felt as if dodging was completely broken. As you may know or might not know, when you dodge in Genshin, you have some invincibility frames, and that's how you dodge a ton of stuff. You need those invincibility frames. And then, but yeah, playing the Abyss day 1, it felt like dodging did nothing. Like I never had those invincibility frames. And yes, this is a bit of a excuse for the background footage where I die, but I've never died this many times in the Abyss. And I went back day 2, day 3 on the Abyss, no problem whatsoever. Generally, no problem whatsoever. I mean, I did Stygian on the next day from the Abyss, and no problem on dodging whatsoever. Like, I had invincibility frames. I could feel that I had invincibility frames, but not in the Abyss day 1. I don't know, it was pretty weird. And again, because it stacks with the bugs that I've got for the version review that I'll mention, it kind of felt like something was broken. Anyway, let's talk buffs first, as always. Let's get into floor 12. First halves are Flints and Inefa, so Electro and Lunar charged buffs. Electro charged is useless, and the Lunar one is just like saying extra Night Soul damage. And then second halves are Lauma and Nilou, so Bloom buff for Nilou only because no other teams uses just Bloom, and there's no buff whatsoever for the other Bloom reactions. And then Lunar Bloom for Lauma. Horrendous on both sides, and it genuinely pissed me off because, really? Like, other times in the Abyss, we have had really specific buffs, right? Yeah, you can say X element skill damage, or X element burst damage and whatnot, right? And like, you can make the argument there for the specificness, and yeah, it might even only work for one unit, right? But the thing is that Bloom, Hyper Bloom, and Burgeon, right? Hyper Bloom and Burgeon are just other versions of Bloom, so why the fuck would you not buff them alongside just Bloom? Of course, it's just to sell Nilou and Lauma since there's the Sumeru Chronicled banner. It's like, really now? You could have easily ran a Hyper Bloom or Burgeon team, as you'll see with many of the enemies, but no! Which would have really nicely helped to play some fun teams again, but no. And again, it just pisses me off because, you know, if you have like X element skill damage, in order to change to X element and a skill and burst damage, you're gonna get the entire element roster there. Or of course just saying X element damage, right? It affects the entire roster, right? But it's a pretty different buff compared to saying Bloom, Hyper Bloom, Burgeon, right? Their skill damage and burst damage are completely different things compared to Bloom, Hyper Bloom. It's like so annoying. Anyway, oh boy. And now we get to see the enemies. Just so you know, most of the chambers are enemy plus boss, so don't get surprised that I don't mention that every chamber or every half. 12-1 starts off with a Mirror Maiden, followed by the Cactus boss. This guy was here before, so you should have plenty of experience against him, but to quickly explain his stuff, he hides in a hat that splits into 3, there's a real hat that you can easily spot from visual and audio cues, also it's the hat that spawns right below him, so follow that one. Hit the hat with Electro Charged, and then beat his ass. Of course, they put a Mirror Maiden before him just as a middle finger if you want to use a Hydro DPS. So if you are using a Hydro DPS, bring some sort of res shredding. Is it an Emo, which works really well with Electrocharged, or anybody else, use them because you're not going to be dealing damage to the thick Mirror Maiden else with Hydro damage. Second half contains 2 Hydro Phantasms in the beginning, followed by the Tulpa. Just try to use the Hydro Aura on them to your benefit, and that's about it. 12-2, first half, introduces one of the new bosses, but before it are 2 Hilichurl Rogues Hydro version, adding another middle finger if you wanted to use a Hydro DPS. The new boss is the Moonfly, which has the same mechanic as the animal enemies I mentioned in the beginning, the ones that will drain your HP. Yeah, they're like animals. There's like not a bull exactly, but like one of those tank sauruses, whatever the hell, like that sort of thing. Yeah, they're all like animals. Yeah, it will begin with draining your HP, place the debuff on you, and then you must heal to full, else your characters will deal no damage to it. It also has giant AoE attacks because Inefa has a shield, so be careful of those. Other than that, it doesn't have anything else special, but it is extremely annoying, and I'm pretty sure actually that if you hit it with Lunar Charge or Lunar Damage, it actually will not place the debuff on you. And this counts because of the next enemy that we'll see, the next boss in 12-3. On the second half, though, of 12-2, there's no boss somehow, and we have a mix-up of enemies which all share one key bullshit property, and that is that they can move around and waste your time. Starting with 2 Rift Hounds, the Electro Rift Hounds, which I swear they changed their behavior because they never stopped moving. And especially doing their fucking disappear teleport attack, absolutely wasting all of my time on the first runs. And then even in the other runs, they just left, right, disappear. No matter what team, no matter what, I could have stunned them 30 times with Kazuha and they would still non-stop move around. What the fuck happened? I do not remember these dogs doing all of that. At least sometimes they did like the chomp attack, the claw attack, before standing there a bit and then doing other moves. But no, they non-stopped. It felt like non-stop this time. After them is 2 Fontaine mechas with the shield. I think one of them is the shield guy that also have moves that make them go all around the arena. And finally is 2 Eremite spirit spawners. One being the crocodile guy and the other the snake girl, which can teleport. I've never seen her teleport, genuinely. No other time have I seen this girl be able to teleport around. But she immediately does it. You kill the snake, she gets stunned. If she gets up, she will immediately teleport away. I've never seen her do that, genuinely. So maybe again the change in behavior in enemies is maybe a valid thing. So 12-2 is extremely annoying. The stupid mechanic of the boss coupled with a chamber full of enemies that move around to waste your time. It almost reminded me of those Lecter abysses a while back, where it's not tough, but we'll do anything we can to waste your time. And to finish off this garbage, 12-3 once again has a hydro-resistant enemy at the start, that being one of the new Fatui soldiers. It's a woman with 2 giant arm guns. Gun arms? Actually, which one is first or second? Followed by the new duck mecha boss, the Knuckle Duckle Fuckle. This one is impossible without Electrocharged. Absolutely impossible. It will start by spawning these small ducks that need to be hit with Electrocharged in order to stun it and break its shield. These ducks, while they do have an HP bar, and in the overworld you might get to kill some of them before filling up their bar, completely forget that. About that in the Abyss. These might as well have as much HP as the boss, if not more, to make it impossible to kill them. And while with the cactus enemy, you are able to not just get it with Electrocharged, but many people have done just Hydro or just Electro. These don't work like that, so you need Electrocharged. I also have to mention that the boss will non-stop do giant AoE attacks while you're trying to hit the ducks, and some of them, especially the Ora punches attack, is impossible to see where the hitbox is. Like, you'll think that you're to the side enough to not get hit, but then you'll still get 2 to 3 hits from just a random punch from it. Like, it's so weird. And of course, just like the Moonfly and even the Cactus, it's got giant AoE attacks outside of the duck's face because Inefa has a shield. And then I sat and I actually sat to myself and thought, wait a second. Spoilers a bit for the Flynn's review when it comes out. Flynn's teams, which is what this whole half is about, and Inefa, has Inefa, Flynn's himself, and then most of the time Yelan, and then Sucros. Like, that's the premium team right now. So, why put the Moonfly there when there's no healer in Flynn's team? So, because I don't have Lunar stuff right now, I'm pretty sure that if you hit this thing with Lunar stuff, because I don't remember the tutorial right now for it, it doesn't go into that phase. I think I remember this from the regular enemies, and this, since this is the boss version of those enemies, I would expect these to work like that. So you get it? You see? And then again, giant AoE attacks on everything because Inefa has a shield. And then second half is kind of a nostalgia trip because it begins with 3 Shadow Husks, the Abyss Knights thingy, and then after them, which by the way, holy, the HP inflation can really be felt against them, is Triple Genki. I actually asked for Triple Genki to appear at some point, and well, you better have a good clear on the first half because the Cryo one will immediately, as they spawn, do a dash attack to the other side of the arena, and now you're only hitting 2 of them, which, guess what, it's not good. But the boss in general is pretty easy. I do like Triple Genki because you can go against him with plenty of teams depending on how you want to run it. And yeah, but like, man, with the HP inflation and the boss enemy chambers, the Cryo guy dashing to the other side at the beginning is really bad now, isn't it? Overall, floor 12 is, well, ass. It's not fun whatsoever. The myriad of gatekeeping mechanics in the first halves, coupled with the 3 middle fingers that are the enemies before the bosses for Hydro DPSs, and then the second halves do have it better, except for 12 too, but with a bloom buff, there's no fun to be had with other teams. So that's the first abyss of Nod-Krai, the 6-point patches or Luna versus whatever tickles your fancy. It will get worse. I think we can all expect that to be the future. And as I have said many, many times, it just takes away from the fun that people had with the Abyss. It's not about difficulty, because these mechanics or enemy behaviors don't add difficulty. It's completely artificial. And you can see that in the community. People that played a lot of the Abyss pre-Natlan, yes, pre-Natlan, it's not pre-Fontaine. Because Fontaine was ever so slightly a boost. But I, who owns now a Neuvillette and Risley, I didn't have Neuvillette and Risley in all of the Fontaine patches. I got them this year. Right, I only had Furina. I had no problems with the Fontaine Abysses. So saying that Fontaine power crept the Abyss, no it fucking didn't. It's Natlan. Natlan introduced the 375% HP multiplier. But yeah, pre-Natlan, you could see the theory crafting of super weird teams with the funniest names that made no sense but could still clear the Abyss and have a ton of fun. But now it doesn't exist. Or if there's some weird team, the main DPS is not doing the main DPS job. It's some other sub DPS that's doing the job. It's like saying, hey, here's Vaporize Ayato, and then it's Mafuika doing the most of the damage because pyro application or something. But before that, before these abysses, we had Ayato Soup, which was super fun. And it was a weird team. We had Microwave, fucking Dendro, Pyro, and Anemo. It made no sense, but it cleared, baby. But you'll not see such teams anymore. And again, like the entire scene, let's say, surrounding the Abyss has kind of fallen into not fun. Anyway, let's get into Imaginarium Theater. I can't anymore. Let's get into IT since it didn't have any Nod-Krai influence to clear my mind of that bullshit. This month, the element combo was Pyro, Hydro, and Dendro, which definitely one of the best ones to get, Vaporize all around, and if you switch 1 or 2 of your Pyro characters to an EM build, you'll get some good Burgeon. The only losing characters here are Dendro DPSs like Al-Haytham and Tinari that need Electro. And, and that's about it. The starting cast this time is a mixed bag, and speaking of these trial characters, beginning with the next month's Imaginarium Theater, they will raise the trial characters' levels, weapon levels, and I think talent levels, and also apparently the stats of their artifacts, but you know, if the artifact sets and weapons are bad, then some extra stats are not going to save these trial characters. But for the starting cast this time, we have Hutao on a normal Crimson Witch build with Dragon's Bane, perfectly fine, followed by Toma on a pretty shit build, he does fuck all. Then it's Nilu, and she's kind of useless. Her stats don't really make Bloom deal significant damage. Like if you have if you have Toma and you make him an EM build, he will deal more burgeon damage, I believe, than this trial Nilu. Then is Xingqiu, still not on 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fate, so he's pretty bad. Then is Baizu on a fine build, but his artifacts are all HP. And I would much rather him use Deepwood rather than max HP. Because what is he going to do with that max HP? He has Prototype Amber, which gives him plenty of HP plus the healing and energy. So what are you going to do with more max HP? Like more extra healing? You don't really need that. And then more max HP to max out his buff. If he has Deepwood, which, you know, his talent buffs all dendro reactions, if he has Deepwood, it'll end up giving him more damage than maxing out this buff. So I would rather him use Deepwood. And finally, is Kole using Deepwood, but also the Stringless, which makes no sense since she will never be there to deal damage. So she should be using Favonius or some other supporting bow, which I don't think we have that many. So Favonius it is. The extra characters, if you own them, were based on the previous banners from 5.8, with Chaska and Inefa in there. But, you know, they're the extra characters, so they're gonna be built, so it doesn't really matter. So, as said, it's a mix-up of okay build, definitely much better than last Imaginarium Theater, but there are still many stinkers in there. And if you remember, like 2 Imaginarium Theaters back, if there's a good element combo, the enemies will make up for it. That's miHoYo, and that's the truth. Here, although I have to say something, I have been playing the max difficulty of Imaginarium Theater since it came out, and this time I watched one of my friends play the non-visionary mode because they didn't have enough characters. And the order of bosses is different from visionary mode and non-visionary mode. And I think this is the only time they have done this, which kind of begs the question, how many times in the previous reviews of Imaginarium Theater have I mentioned the wrong boss as the last one? Because it makes no sense, as you will see. First, for visionary mode, is Triple Kenki, and he's pretty easy, followed by the Papilla. So use Burning, that's your only easily accessible reaction for the Papilla. There's no Electro charged, or you will have to get a decent Natlan character and keep them for the Papilla, or else use Burning, as I said. Then, after this, is the mix-up. I mentioned, because in Visionary mode, the next boss is the Cryo Wayob. The one that needs a good healer to heal the other Wayob so that you actually deal damage. But this boss is not in the non-visionary mode. They completely skipped this guy, which baffles me. So the last boss for both modes is the Lava Dragon. What? How many times has this happened? Does the third boss in visionary mode need to be some sort of this weird enemy guy to skip them for non-visionary? Like, the fuck? So yeah, anyway, the last boss is the Lava Dragon, so I hope RNG didn't fuck you up, and you have a good team for it. Either you'll save Kinnich, if you have him, or you're gonna have to play some sort of Burning, maybe get a Hydro DPS in there, and only use them when the dragon is down. Something like that. And that's this month's Imaginarium Theater. It's fine. The elements are good, but miHoYo knows how to fuck you up if there's a good element combo with annoying bosses, and the trial characters are mixed for good and bad. And that is the September 2025 Abyss and Imaginarium Theater. It will not get better. And if the Nod-Krai enemies start showing up in Imaginarium Theater, I can easily predict needing many restarts to either roll for the Nod-Krai units, which might I remind you, you need 2 in the team for them to function, or you're gonna have to keep your best of the best teams to brute force the enemies. So this will turn Imaginarium Theater once again into something not fun. Like needing two characters, man. 2 characters for literally them to function. They're literally cut in half if you don't have a second guy. Like, why? Anyway, I will see you in the version review we have a lot, and I mean a lot, to say in it. With how much stuff we got, a lot of, not controversy, but a lot of comments that people have done, and I have a lot of comments on the version and everything. It's gonna be a dozy of a version review, but first is going to be the Flints review, baby. Can't wait to get my Flints. Anyway, I'll see you then. Goodbye.